I'm on a mission. Yes, on a mission to find how people keep well. What does it really mean to keep well? We all know why we have to keep well, don't we? How do you keep well? Today's fast-paced world means we often get caught up with the daily grind. We struggle to develop or maintain practices that help to maintain our well-being. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant demands and pressure. It's so easy to get distracted, isn't it? And end up doing exactly what we know we shouldn't be doing. Having easy to digest information to guide and remind you to keep well can make a world of difference. Consider me to be your dedicated well-being partner, cheering you to achieve big dreams and goals, which is only possible by keeping yourself well, living a happy, healthy, and meaningful life. We all know well-being has various definitions, and one in particular involves our mental well-being. Our guest today is Dr. Niki. Hello, Dr. Niki.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to read your bio from one of your books, and I'm going to talk a lot about some of your books today, which I really enjoy reading. Anyway, so Dr. Niki is a GP. She's a family doctor based in the UK at the moment with a special interest in mental health. She is passionate about helping people live a productive, happy life by sharing inspirational advice through her books and her talks. She is the founder of Forte Charity for Inspiration and author of a number of books, two of which we might be talking about today. One is The Money and Mental Wellbeing, and she has another book called 2020. Do we all remember 2020? Yes, it was the COVID year or pandemic year. And she wrote a book, 2020 Year of Plenty, which is incredible. She has other books as well, and she might be talking about those in this show tonight. So welcome, and thank you for joining us today on the How Do You Keep Well podcast, Dr. Niki. Well, let's dive straight in. So, Dr. Niki, I'm just so interested about some of your stories. I've heard some of your stories before, but I just want you to share with our listeners, particularly how you managed to keep yourself sane when you first moved to the UK, and a bit more about your background as well.
Okay, so my full name is actually Afiniki Akanet. And when you say background, I like to give a shout out to my Kaduna people. I'm from the northern part of Nigeria.
Yes.
And it was a big thing at that time, me as a young child having a dream of coming to study medicine in the UK. And yeah, thank God it came to pass. I came to the UK at the age of 16 to study.
Wow.
But as some of you might know, in Nigeria, it's normally GCEs and then straight to university. But in this country, I found out I had to do A-levels before going on to university. So I came into a private school, a college, to study A-levels to be able to apply for medicine further on. And yeah, so that was in 2000, which seems so long ago right now.
Looks 23 years ago. That's a long time.
23 years. Yes. And I'm still here now. I feel like actually I've lived a longer part of my life in the UK now than I have in Nigeria.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you just need to look back and you remember where you've come from and look at the length of time. It's like climbing a hill, isn't it? You just keep climbing and then you look back like, whoa, see how far I've come.
The time does fly. So yeah, I came in to study medicine, but of course, if anybody's read the book Fortitude, that was my first book. It wasn't a smooth sailing journey. So I started, but then as many people might be experiencing right now, I found out the exchange rate for the Naira to the pound is now over £1,000. Over incredible. 1,000 Naira. So £1 is over 1,000 Naira. At that time, the exchange rate was going up. And then, of course, it affected our parents' plans for how they would pay our fees, affected our parents' businesses and things. So I ran into financial challenges as a young student. So I had to take a year out of college and then eventually studied a first degree in anatomy and human biology and went on to study medicine at the University of Warwick. There was a lot of ups and downs and challenges, but by 2008, which was when Forte Charity started, during my year out in Nigeria, things had settled a bit. So I was able to go back to medical school and complete my degree. And now I've become a GP. And I would say some of the things I learned through that tumultuous time where
Mm,
things were rocky, things weren't easy. I think those are some of the skills that are keeping me sane now as a GP, because
mm,
sometimes people feel like things happen for no reason. It's just, why did I have to go through that? In my case,
mm,
I genuinely believe that those are the things that built my resilience and my strength and taught me
mm,
lessons that I'm glad I learned at a young age so that I wouldn't make bigger
mm,
mistakes with more costs at an older age. So yeah,
mm,
it's been an interesting journey. And now I'm
mm,
enjoying life as a GP, as a mom, as a wife.
mm.
I met a husband in the UK and I ended up going back to Kaduna to get married in
Wow.
2010. So I've been married for 13 years now, and he's an amazing
Wow.
pharmacist here as well. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey, and the books kind of happened along the way as well, because I quite like to
Mm,
write about my experiences and things I've learned as I go along.
mm.
So that's how I've ended up writing all the books.
Oh my word, that is incredible. I actually found one aspect quite touching when
Mm,
you talked about how you started your charity. That was in 2008.
mm.
And that was like 8 years. You came in 2000, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was 8 years down the line. And
Mm,
I'm sure you would have been thinking that, no, I don't want anybody else to go through this. And the fact that you had such a big heart to give,
mm,
just again, for me, I can see it in my interactions with you all the time. So I feel that, yes, sometimes when people are going through quite a tough time, and I say this a lot to a number of people I come into contact with, sometimes is to help other people. You might not know it at that point in time, but
mm,
further down the line, you find that
mm.
you are able to give a bit more
Def-
easily because you've been through it yourself. That's
Definitely,
incredible. I always
definitely.
love hearing people's stories. Thank you so much, Dr. Nikki.
That's okay,
Whoa.
Jane.
So one of the things you talked about with keeping yourself sane, I'm trying to figure it out. As a young teenager coming to the UK, you were quite
Mm,
young, so you were reliant a lot on your parents to kind of fund your studies. But
mhm.
what about life, other aspects of life? How did you manage to keep yourself sane in those periods? That must have been quite tough.
It was tough. Saying that, when I first came in, I was in a boarding school, food, everything was provided, accommodation, all that was included. But then I
Mm,
had to leave after a year because they couldn't
mm,
afford the fees anymore. So I spent
mm.
some summer, I think it was a summer I spent with one of my aunties and found a job while I was there, because I'm somebody that doesn't like to be idle. And thankfully, she
Yes.
appreciated that. She helped me at 17 to get my first a proper office job. So I was working as an agency office worker for one of my other aunties. So my auntie's friend who had a cleaning agency actually. So I was the
Okay.
one running the office for her, trying to sort out
Wow.
the shifts and things like that. And because I like admin and paperwork, I enjoyed
Mhm.
it. And she paid me what I thought was so amazing money for a student. So I saved
Of
in that
course, we're a
time.
young teenager.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that job. And sometimes if you couldn't get anybody to do the shift, you muck in and go and do the cleaning yourself. But
Yes.
it was really a good experience. But then
Mm.
my focus was to become a doctor. So I didn't want to get distracted, because some people start
No.
making money, get distracted, and then they don't end up achieving their goals because of
Yeah.
£200 here, £300 there. They
Yes.
end up being
Yes.
distracted and not achieving the main aim. So I really wanted to stay focused. I ended up going, God provided an opportunity for me to go to stay with another auntie who spoke to her children's school head, and they were able to
Mm.
accept me into that school to be able to finish my A levels before I applied to
Wow.
university from there. So I ended up
Okay.
moving to Manchester and then going to Liverpool University to do my first degree.
That was God ordering your steps, wasn't it? More or
Definitely,
less.
definitely. I can't tell my story without giving glory to God, because every single step of
Yes.
the way, even when you talk about maintaining sanity, I was sharing
Yes.
this recently with somebody, how there is evidence to show that having a faith really
Yes.
helps with your well-being. So when there were times
Yes.
when my parents couldn't even help me, they were so far away. There was nobody
Mm.
to help me. My friends couldn't understand because they were from very rich families and they couldn't understand how somebody's parents can't pay their fees. I only had
Mm-hmm.
God, and
Yes.
God shows his love to us by putting us in families. So wherever I went, I always
Yes.
found a local church. So I would have
Yes.
friends from there as well who understood about praying and standing in faith,
Yes.
even when things don't look like you expect. And
Yes.
yeah, when ended up going to university studying anatomy, which was not what I came to study. For somebody who
Mm.
didn't have money to pay school fees,
A
going
choice.
to study
Yeah.
a totally different degree with the hope
Mm.
of studying medicine as well. So I came here for
Mm.
one degree, ended up doing two. And this is somebody that didn't even have the money for college. So the way that everything just happened, I feel like I went through certain stages to meet certain people as well along the way who are still really good friends, most of them.
That's excellent. And honestly, I feel that generally speaking, when we talk about keeping your sanity, and it to me it sounds like keeping yourself well in a way,
Mm,
connection is always a big aspect of mental well-being. I think it's one of the five
mm,
pillars of mental well-being: connection, connecting to others, connecting to the bigger picture. And for me, that is God. Connect, and
yes.
even we talk about being healthy. It's all dimensions, both physical, mental, and
Mm,
spiritual. So yes, that plays
definitely.
such a crucial role in our well-being, just feeling that connection to people and to God. So thank you so much for
Mm,
sharing that aspect. Now I'm just going
mm,
to go into this second segment, which is really about, again, still about how you keep well. And
mm.
I like that. There was in one of your books, you were talking about work at home. I think you were talking about your anniversary and your husband's birthday, and you were doing some exercise at home. So I really want to know, how do you keep yourself well physically, Dr. Nikki? Just give me an idea of what kind of things you do to keep yourself well physically.
So, first of all, I'm quite proud of myself for being able to talk and answer a question in this segment. Because growing up, I never liked sports. I never liked exercise. I had every excuse not to do PE. And because I was good academically, my parents let me off. So I never did any sports in school until I came to the UK and they said, for applying to medical school, you need to show that you're a well rounded person. And I thought, oh my
Ooh.
goodness, I can't just be all about the books. I need to show that I do something else. So
Yes.
I got into playing basketball in college, which was really
Mm.
nice because I made a lot of friends from there. The girls were really lovely, showing me what to do. Got into that, enjoyed it. Went to university, did a bit more, made some good friends from there. I used to go on a Monday night, I remember, after lectures,
Mm.
and would play
Mm.
basketball. Ended up playing for one of the teams. I would even do competition. So that was quite nice for somebody who
Mm.
never did sports. And then the thing is, I like walking a lot. So I used to walk, even when I went to medical school, my house was like 40 minutes walk to university. I could have taken the
Wow.
bus, but I was saving money and
Mm.
exercising at the same time, walking
Yes.
down. And I had good friends to walk with. So we used to
Mm.
walk down. And I remember in Liverpool University, because I'm so bad with sense of direction, usually when I
Mhm.
know one route, I stick to it, even if it's the longest route.
Yes.
And I remember when
Yes.
I met my husband, he used to tell me, do you know there's a really short route to town center? But because I got used to the one route that was long, I just used to do
Yes.
that. And that
Yeah.
was part of my exercise. But then in your
Mm.
20s, you don't gain that much weight. You don't think about health too much. You're just doing things because you enjoy it.
Yes. Yes.
People kept saying, when you get to your 30s, you'll understand. And it's true. Now, if you're not conscious about exercise, you feel unhealthy, you feel heavy, you start gaining weight,
Mm.
and it's
Mm.
not good. It's not a good feeling. So now I
Mm.
have to be a bit more conscious about it. So I joined the netball club here because I couldn't find basketball. So I play
Mm.
netball with some ladies here. They're also moms who are very inspirational because some of them have children older than me. Some of them are in their 50s playing netball.
Wow.
And you think, if they can do it, surely I can. In fact, I had
Yes.
one member of the team who had brain cancer and was coming every week to play netball.
That's
And you
incredible.
think, I have no excuse. They're just such inspirational ladies locally. So they always encourage each other. And sometimes we're all busy with life and we miss a few sessions,
Mm.
but you feel the difference when you haven't been for a few weeks. And then you go
Mm.
back and your body's aching. So you try and keep going. So the walk at home came about with lockdown when I couldn't do any of those other going to
Mm.
places. So
Mm.
after I had children, I specifically would join a gym for a month
Mm.
or two to do specific
Just keep things under
exercises. Usually
control.
it's just, yeah, it was actually just walking on the treadmill that I used to do in the gym,
Mm.
and I would still lose weight with that. Go back to my
Mm.
normal weight, then go back to my normal routine because I find going to the gym a bit boring and tedious. So I like to
Mm.
incorporate exercise in everyday stuff. But
Mm.
walk at home
Mm.
was an amazing discovery in lockdown because it was something I could do at home in my house. And it's just,
Yes.
if you Google walk at home or check it out on
And
YouTube,
it's
it's one
free.
by it's free on by Leslie Sansom. So it was when the schools used to do exercises for children on
Yes, I
YouTube,
remember
that
them.
I found this one for myself, and I thought it was amazing because it was walking. You could do 5 kilometers at home in front of your TV. The way she told you what to do. Sometimes
Yeah.
you'd walk, sometimes you'd jog, sometimes you'd do a
Oh.
few dancey
Was
steps
this
just to
all on
keep
a
you going.
treadmill?
Not on a treadmill, just in your house on the normal carpet, on the normal floor. Just make a
That
bit of
is
space so you
incredible.
can just walk up and down. You get the 5 kilometers in. If you don't have time, you can do a three kilometer one. So some days I'll do a 20-minute one, some days I'll do 45-minute video. But if I'm trying to get on top of all the cake, because in our house, summer season is usually cake season with all the birthdays and anniversary. So if I'm trying to get
Yes.
on top of things, I try to aim for 3 to 5 times a week. But
That,
if I'm just maintaining my fitness, if I do it once or twice a week, I'm happy. And that's
that's
really helpful because it gets me moving and the children can get involved because
involved.
they like it as well. And I could do it while watching a movie because I just have it on my
Mm,
phone and the movie is on. I
mm.
love my Nigerian films. If people watch Nigerian movies,
You do. In
so you
fact,
could be
I'm hoping
watching
I
that.
might talk to you about one or two movies at some point. Yes, I've written a list thanks to you about some movies I should watch.
People always wonder how I have time to watch movies, but that's one of the things I do for my
Mm,
relaxation and well-being. And I don't like a movie that involves too much thinking and concentration. So the Nigerian movies are
mm.
quite easy sometimes. It's just
Yes, they
funny. It
can be quite strong.
reminds you of Nigeria, simple stories, sometimes with a good lesson. So I just watch
Yes,
that, and you can be doing something else while watching it. So sometimes I could be
yes,
sorting things out on my phone or doing laundry
yeah.
or ironing. So it's quite nice. That's what I do to relax. So I'm not telling
That's
everybody to go and
really
watch movies,
lovely.
but think of what works for you.
Absolutely. And that's it. I think that's where I'm trying to get at, that well being is about picking up what works for you. So you don't have
Yeah,
to, you may find that a gym might be too overwhelming. And you may find that exercise classes, joint group classes might be too overwhelming. Just simple being in front of your TV and just walking and just, it's
it,
incredible. And for me, it's mind blowing that actually you can do something as simple as that and it's sustainable, and you can
it,
increase it or decrease it depending on how many calories you think you're having. So I find that
that's it.
really interesting. Now, the other bit I
Yeah,
liked
and how
about
much time as well.
I know, because you can do it whilst doing other
Mhm.
things. So you can do it whilst
Yeah,
ironing, you can do it whilst watching TV. So it's like a double whammy.
yeah,
And there's one of these books,
yeah.
I can't remember which book in particular, that talks about habit stacking, where you take one habit and join it to another, something that you would normally
Yes,
do. So I find that an
yeah,
easy way to develop a good habit of just being mobile.
yeah.
And there's something else I talk about to people. Once you've been sat down for nearly 2 hours, you should get up and move. So you may find that
Mm,
actually just putting that reminder into your system regularly keeps you
mm-hmm.
physically active without
Yeah,
necessarily paying for a membership anywhere. And it's just necessary. I just feel generally everybody out there just to encourage you. Exercise can be fun, but I think movement, if you see it as movement, it is even bigger fun
mm,
and it's sustainable. Now,
yeah,
another way I know you have been keeping yourself well, Dr. Nikki, is experiences. I know you enjoy working hard, but you also enjoy going out, going on holidays, going to restaurants, taking your
yeah,
family out for meals, watching movies, connecting with friends. One of the
yeah,
aspects of your book talks about connecting with friends who have their birthdays in May, I think, and you
yeah.
all had a meal together. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
that is an incredible way to build your social well-being and also your
Mm-hmm.
mental well-being. I know we're going to talk about mental well-being in a way, but Dr. Nikki, tell me a bit more about what you feel about experiences generally and your well-being.
So I think everybody's different with what they would enjoy. I remember telling someone how I'm expecting friends for dinner, and she was thinking, oh my goodness, that must be so stressful. But for me, it's not. I enjoy hosting, and I would rather invite people around for a meal to have a good chat and a good catch up than phone people. I find talking on the phone
Mm,
so much work, especially because that's part of my job, my day job. So
yes.
for me, that's the relaxing thing. But it's thinking, what's the purpose of all this? Okay, I'm trying to connect. It doesn't have to be going to an expensive restaurant. It doesn't have to be going to pay for Legoland or Disney World for you and your family. There are free ways of doing it. If it's that it's the money you're worried about, if it's the time that you're worried about, there are other ways you can do things. Doing a jigsaw on the floor with your children, doing we found this lovely IQ testing that we did with my children in Greece, and that was just lovely to just sit down and see who knows what about general stuff. But my son is really into knowing facts and stuff, so he likes to shine like the superstar of the family. But it's thinking, what experiences give me joy. Everybody's different.
Mm,
If you're finding it stressful, you find something that works for you. And for me
mm,
personally, I like meeting up with people. I like being able to talk and find out what's going on with them, because even though it seems like I'm doing it for people, trying to talk with them and help them, it's actually helping me while I'm doing that. And I
mm.
find it's also a break from the mundane and everyday stuff. So it doesn't have to be going out to restaurants. We could just have a meal at the house. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
expensive food. It could just be something simple. We do love rice
Yes.
in my house, so it could just be something
You
like
have all the
rice and
versions of
chicken.
it.
Um, that's it. Or you
Mm,
could decide to just meet in the park with some friends, just walk
mm,
around, and
mm.
just walking around, you're having a chance to talk. The children are playing, having fun, and it's a very memorable opportunity because it's people you've
Experience,
not
yeah.
seen. I
Mm,
Yeah, I don't really like driving too far, so sometimes you could just meet with friends halfway so that they come from somewhere else, you come from somewhere else, and that way it ticks the box as well. Friends you've not seen in a year, you're meeting up in a park somewhere midway so that your children can play, the moms and dads can talk and chat. So I think it's the people connection that makes the experiences great. But then sometimes it's also just my family. We need time together because we're such a busy family. My children
mm,
are doing school, music, sports. My husband's busy with his entrepreneurship and his pharmacy and all sorts. I'm busy with my own stuff. So sometimes I have to actively protect that family time. So we don't
mm.
do phone calls
Too
in the
many
evenings.
things.
We would just sit down
Mm,
together and watch a movie, or we could go to the cinema together, or we could book holidays or weekends away just to go,
mm,
even if it's to see someone or to go visit a place we've never been to, just so that we
mm.
spend that time together. And you'd be surprised, even the 2 hours in the car driving there, we have some really useful conversations. And it's just bonding and reconnecting as a family. And we don't like to leave it too long between those things.
Absolutely. I completely agree with those 2 hours of driving and bonding together. It's
Yeah,
honestly, it's incredible because really you
yeah,
can't use your phone when you're driving one. And for the other person, you
yeah,
get a bit fed up of it as well. So you end up just talking.
true.
I
Yeah.
find it really helpful. Even for us as a family, we enjoy doing that. I'm really learning a lot from you. I quite like the fact that you mentioned these things don't have to be expensive at all. And at the end of the day, you want to look at the value you're getting from it. And at the end of the day, is the connection, one with others and one with your
Yeah.
family. So there is a
Mm,
lot about connection and your mental well-being from what I can
mm,
hear. And there are so many different ways, inexpensive ways of doing it. And if you feel you've worked hard, you've saved some money, yes, you can splurge on the
flash
experiences.
out.
Yes,
Yeah.
splash out. Why not?
Mm.
Now the question is, can money buy happiness? Do you think money can buy happiness, Dr. Nikki?
I'm sure you're referring to the part of my book where I said I loved the quote that someone said, whoever said money can't buy happiness doesn't know where to shop.
Yes. Yes,
I, I
absolutely.
have to say it's true. As somebody that loves shopping, I have to say it's true. But I always have to put the caveat: shop where you can afford, what you can afford.
Yes.
Because some people think, because of all what's going on social media and on TV, that shopping is about going to Gucci shop, going to Louis Vuitton, or going to Paris, or buying the latest things. It doesn't have to be that. Sometimes you'll catch me walking around charity shops, looking around. You still get the satisfaction. Sometimes I could just be walking around Tesco or just a random shop just to have that. You still get the adrenaline. In
That
fact, one of the research
feeling,
papers,
that
yeah,
dopamine.
one of the research papers said even just from window shopping you can get it. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be that you've spent so much
Physically
money.
buy.
But
Mm.
sometimes as well, it's that you're buying things that you actually want. And there's
Mm.
no harm in that. If I'm sitting here thinking, I would really love this. I remember 3 years ago, I really loved the sapphire ring that I saw in, I think it was H. Samuel. I really loved it. And I kept hinting to my husband, that's what I want for our anniversary.
Why
And he didn't
not?
have a chance with the amount of hinting, he had to get it. And at the end of the day, I really wanted it and it was lovely. I still wear it, And I'm proud of it because it's something that my husband got for me out of love. It's reminding me of 10 whole years of marriage. It's not easy in this day and age to be married for that long.
No.
So I'm grateful for it. But where I put the caveat is, yes, money can buy you things that will make you feel happy. Money can seem to buy happiness, but money cannot buy true and lasting happiness. That's the bit
Mm,
where people miss it. Sometimes you
mm,
think, oh, yeah, I've worked hard, I have so much money, I'll buy whatever I want. You're not thinking of the
mm,
bigger picture. You're not thinking, some people even go into debt buying things that they want
mm,
just because they think, I deserve to be happy. Well, it's not happiness if it's debt because you
mm,
think you've got that big house, you think you've got that nice car, but you haven't really got it. You've now just got a load of payments that you're now tied to for the next 5 years that you need to be working all sorts of shifts to pay. And then
mm,
what are you going to buy to console you when you have no
mm.
money left at the end of the month because you get paid on the first day and you have to pay all these things back
Debt
straight
off.
away. And then you're so broke and then you're feeling like you're not being paid enough when really it's like managing what you've got. So I
Mm,
think as much as we joke about money can buy happiness and it's good to buy what makes you happy, it's good to get whatever makes you happy. And sometimes it's experiences. It's not necessarily buying stuff. Because as we get older, we don't want things. There are hardly any clothes or shoes or things that I want because whatever it is, I probably have something similar and I'm not that
mm,
bothered. But it's the
mm,
experiences. I look online and I think, oh, I'd love to go to America next year. Oh, I'd love to go to Japan. But when I look at the flights and I think, okay, how much is it going to cost for 4 tickets? I have to sit down and be realistic with myself. Can I afford it? Because
mm.
I won't just book it because that will make me happy right now. I'm going to do it and then deal with the consequences later. Because by the time you're dealing with the consequences of foolish decisions like that, that's a recipe for poor mental health, which is the kind of things I talk about in Money and Mental Wellbeing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I hear you say really is use money wisely. You
Mm,
can use money to do so many things, but you have at the risk of putting yourself at of getting into debt, which is going to cause a negative feedback on your
yeah,
mental well-being. But one of the things I really enjoy, or one of the lessons I've picked is use money wisely to buy experiences as
yeah,
well. You may find that connection that you're really craving for doesn't necessarily come from the very expensive cars or the expensive watches or the new iPhone. It may
mm,
actually come from the connection with the experiences, driving in a car, even a vacation. You pay for your vacation in advance, and
mm,
just that delayed gratification and anticipation just brings
yeah.
so much joy. Even though
That's
it's the
so
money
true.
you've spent, but you're still
You're
feeling
enjoying it later.
the joy for like six
Yeah,
months
yeah. And doing
into
things for
it.
other people as well because it's a blessing to have money. So it's not just about me. Money can buy happiness in that I see someone struggling and I think, you know what, I'll send them £200. The satisfaction
Absolutely.
and joy that comes from that.
Honestly.
If I didn't have that money, how would I bless that person? How would I get that feeling? I'll just be there
Mm,
going, oh, sorry. And we'll just be crying together. When really, some problems, all you need is a bit of cash and everybody will be happy. So
happy.
you can't
Mm,
solve problems with money. Money is a tool and we should enjoy it.
yes.
But just
Yes.
don't deceive ourselves that it can buy us true and lasting happiness because
N-
that is just a momentary feeling, those feelings you get when you spend money. The true and lasting happiness comes from within and comes,
yes.
for me personally, I believe it comes from our creator, having a personal relationship with
Yes.
our creator. And
Yes.
that's a totally different issue to spending money.
Absolutely. And again, I just like that last point you've made. And that last point is about acts of kindness.
Mm,
I think that is quite an important point, really. Just the fact that you can invest in others. And
mm.
sometimes it's not just your money that you invest in others, it's
Yeah,
time, it's
exactly.
resources, and the satisfaction, the
Mm,
joy from the giving aspects is incredible. The fact that
mhm.
the impact is that you feel like you're living a meaningful life. And
Yeah,
for me, one of the definitions of well-being is a happy, healthy, and a meaningful life. So
definitely.
well-being entails more than physical activity, it entails more than connection, but there's also that aspect of living a meaningful life, investing
Mm,
in others, giving others, sharing other people's vision, giving into others people's dreams and their
mhm.
goals, helping them to achieve it, whether through money,
Mm,
time, or
mm.
giving your advice, your
Yeah.
resources just to help other people. And I
Mhm.
think that's where I find, yeah, you may serve and earn, but because you're earning so much, you may be able to serve other people in so many different ways, not
Mhm.
just with money.
Yeah.
So I really love our conversation. Now I'm coming to this segment, which is all about mental well-being.
Mhm.
And one of the quotes which I like in your book, I mean, you a number of I could go on and on about some of your books, but you did talk about how does money affect mental well-being. And I want you to just tell me a bit about that. What are your thoughts? How money affects mental well-being? We've talked a little bit about it now,
Yeah.
but I don't know if there's any other point you want to maybe draw out from maybe one of your books as well.
Yeah, to avoid repetition, I've talked about how the way we spend money can affect our well being, but then I'll also talk about the way we make money affecting our mental well being. Because, like you say, it's having that feeling of meaning, having meaning in our life. And if because of the kind of commitments I've made, I'm not able to do what I really want to do, or
Mm,
chase my passions, or to live my vision for my life, then that can be affecting my mental health. If, for example, all I want to be is to be a gardener and to just spend all my time in the sun sorting out, looking after flowers, but because I've made certain commitments, I'm not able to do that because of I'm probably not going to make as much money and I'm stuck doing something I
mm,
hate. That's a way that money is affecting our mental well-being. Or if I've
mm,
chosen to commit to things like get a phone or a house or school that involves me having to work 6 days a week so that I don't have time to sit down and just watch a movie. You hear people talking about watching movies and you're thinking, yeah, you're so jobless, that's so useless, waste of time. When really, it's because your life would not allow you to do that because of the things
mm,
that you put in place. So I think
mm,
the way we make money and the way we spend and manage money can affect our mental well-being. And
mm,
my main motivation for this is not just for myself, it's also for my children, because you won't
mm,
believe it. I was seeing a patient not too long ago who needed psychological therapy, a young girl, teenage girl, but her parents had no time to bring her to have that because they were busy working. And you think,
mm,
at what point do we realize the priorities, what is more important? Because if you
mm,
spend all your hours working and you don't have time for your children when they need you the most, then what's the
mm,
point of all of that? They turn
mm,
around as adults and have so much trauma, so
mm,
much psychological issues that lead to
mm,
other big issues, and all they can do is to blame you while talking to a
mm,
therapist when they can finally
mm,
afford it. And it sometimes also creates generational poverty because we're not taking the time to break those cycles of behavior that have led to the difficulties that people are facing. And
mm,
only because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, we're trying to
mm,
feel important that we can buy whatever everybody else is buying. Looking
mm.
after your mental health doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes I could be looking after
Yeah.
my mental health by choosing to buy the cheaper thing. Sometimes I could be
Yes.
looking after my mental health by not buying something right now, waiting a
Mm.
few years so that I
Yeah.
can wait till it's a bit more comfortable for my family finances. And
Yeah.
if people don't think about the bigger picture when making such decisions, it ends up affecting not only your own mental health, but also that of your children, if you've got any, those of
Yes.
people around you, because you're not a very nice person to work with. You're so grumpy, you're so unhappy, you're not
Mm,
sleeping enough, you're not
mm,
having time for the experiences and the connections that we talk about that are good for your mental
mm,
health. And it's
mm.
just a vicious cycle, really. So, money affects a lot of things. And the sooner we realize that it also affects mental health, the better it will be
The
for a
better
lot of
it
us.
is.
Yeah.
I quite the you talked about making money and spending
Mm-hmm.
money. I think those are two
Mm-hmm.
big things actually. I know, and people read books and they read about stocks, shares, and Bitcoin and all of that business. But yes, you're right, because the impact that has on our mental well-being, we cannot underestimate it. And that's why I quite like that survey you did, which shows that connection between money and our mental well-being. I think that's quite an important survey. And if you haven't read any of Dr. Akanet's books, I think Money and Mental Well-being is one that you should explore. It's a beautiful book and it reveals a number of, or perhaps reveals a lot of our perceptions about mental well-being and our finances. And I quite like actually the summary you gave at the end of that book about AHA, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you don't mind just talking us through AHA. I'll let you tell us what that acronym means.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered as well. Sometimes when I talk about looking after your mental health, people sometimes think that I'm talking so much about people working too much, but it applies to the other extreme as well, where people are being lazy, not doing any work,
Mm.
not wanting to earn any money, but sitting there being jealous of everybody else that's making money and complaining about people having a good life, a nice car, and whatever. That's not good for your mental health either, because you're being idle or you're not pushing yourself to be your best. And then you're sitting there being envious and negative, and that's not good for your mental health. So at
Yeah.
the end of Money and Mental Wellbeing, the AHA acronym was about things to think about before you spend money. So not just spending big amounts of money. So sometimes you could apply it to, I need to buy a car, or I need to buy a house, or I need to buy something big anyway, whatever big is to you. And I was saying in the book as well that it's not just to do with those big things. It's also the little things that add up to big things. So, for
Mm.
example, buying lunch every day at work, if you're spending £5 every day, that's easily £25 a week. That's easily £100 a month. If it's you and your husband and your children doing that, imagine how much you're spending per year. So it's those
Mm.
little things that add up as well. So AHA,
Mm.
AHA stands for number one, afford. A stands for afford. Can you afford it? So not just do I have the money in my wallet or do I have the money in my account? It's thinking of the full picture. Can I afford it? It's the 10th of the month. Just because I have £100 in my account and the thing is £90 doesn't mean I can afford it. I've still got other things that might come up the rest of the month. Even if it's that it's the 30th of the month and I've still got £100 in my account. If you haven't saved anything that month, you really can't afford it because you have no
Mm.
savings. So
Mm.
thinking about what can I genuinely afford, and just because
Mm.
other people are doing it doesn't mean you should do it. We sometimes have this thing in society where we're comparing and thinking people at my level do this and they buy these kinds of cars and they buy these kinds of houses. That's okay for them. Everybody has different stories, different challenges. When I finished uni, I had a lot of debt because I came here as an international student. By the time you paid school fees, I had to take loans at some point to help out with paying my school fees. So by the time I finished university, I had a huge amount of debt to pay off. I wouldn't be
Mm.
going
Mm.
around buying a nice car just because I've started working as a doctor. My first priority is to pay off those loans so that
Mm.
I can then start enjoying my money. So for
Mm.
me, even though other people were buying nice cars when they finished university, I couldn't because I couldn't afford it. I needed to pay other things first before I
Mm.
could start thinking about those things. So first of all, think, can you afford it? You yourself, can you afford it? I remember when
Mm.
we were younger, we'll be having people calling from Nigeria saying, please send me money, buy me Manchester United t-shirt, whatever. And thank God for wisdom. I could have easily thought, oh, well, I live in the UK. I should. I've just worked and I have £200. Maybe I should buy it for them. But I really need to think, I want to help. I love you, but I don't have to buy things I can't afford. Because as my friend used to tell me, if you have minus 300 in your account, you're in overdraft, and somebody else has zero in their account and they're asking you for money, just because you have access to another £700 in your overdraft doesn't mean that you can afford it and you can help them. We have to be wise. And that's the way of
Mm.
looking after our mental health. So, can you afford it? Really think about it. Can I afford it? Then go for it. But go for it doesn't just mean because I can afford it, I should do it. There are other things to consider, which is when we come to H. Will it help? So just because I can afford it doesn't mean automatically get it, because whether it's for myself or for someone else, some people giving them money is not a help. It's actually
Mm.
encouraging their laziness. It's actually making them
Mm.
continue in bad habits and bad attitudes that don't help their lives. I'm all for
Mm.
helping people to achieve and be the best they can be. So it's not
Yeah.
just about me sending people money, which sometimes people think, are you being stingy? It's not about being stingy. I'm being wise and
No.
I'm trying to help
Mm.
you by letting you
Mm.
stand on your own two feet. So will it
Mm.
help? Even
Mm.
the Friday night takeaway, sometimes you might feel like, oh, I can afford it. It's just £20 to buy takeaway. It's okay. I'll do takeaway. But is it helping? I'm trying to lose
Mm.
weight. I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying to be fit. My cholesterol might be up. I might have eaten too much cake this week. Is it actually helping me? Just because I can afford it doesn't mean I should do it.
Mm. Do
So
it.
that's the other
Mm.
question. Will it help? Then
Mm.
the last A, so afford, help, and the last A is advance. Does it
Mm.
advance your vision for your life, your purpose,
Mm.
your mission in
Mm.
life? Because I know not everybody thinks about these things, but it's important if you haven't, especially as an
Mm.
adult, if you haven't thought about what I want out of life, what would I want to be said of me by the time my days are done? What is
Mm.
my vision and my purpose in this life? If you haven't thought about that, it's important to think about it. And not everybody will have answers straight away when they sit down to think about it, but it
Yeah.
takes a lot of meditating and thinking, what are the things I like? What is the kind of person I am? What makes me happy? What do I
Yeah.
feel I'm made for? What is my contribution to society? And if that
Mm.
spending that money or doing that thing isn't going to contribute and advance that and help with that, then it's
Mm.
not really worth doing, because it's like you're
Mm.
attacking yourself. So if the
Yeah.
goal, if my, or there are short term goals and there are long term goals. If my short term
Yeah.
goal is to buy a nice house in an area that's close to a school that I want for my children, and I'm
Mm.
thinking, okay, I need to save £50,000 so that I can buy this house. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at this nice car that is £5,000, and I'm thinking, if I can, I just want to drive this car right now. I just want to drive this car right now. If that I can afford it, yes, if I've got 20,000 in my account, I have 5,000, I can take it out and go and buy it. Will it help?
Mm.
Yes, it will help. It's nice to have a nice car. It will make me feel
Mm.
good.
Mm.
It's a reliable car, whatever it is I'm thinking. But the last question makes me really think, should I do it? Is it going to advance my
Yeah.
goal? Because if my
Yeah.
goal is to get my children into that school by next year, and me
Yeah.
taking out that money isn't going to let me achieve my goal, then I probably
Mm.
shouldn't do it. So it's not just because I can afford it, not just because it's a nice, helpful thing to do, I should do it. If somebody is asking
Mm.
me to send them £300, and I'm thinking, well, if I send you that £300, it's not going to help me advance the goal of this that I'm
This
trying to
the
achieve this month,
mm.
or this thing that I'm trying to help you to achieve
Mm.
as well. So if, for example,
Mm.
I'm trying to get you to realize you need to get a job, and I'm
Mm.
sending you money, then it's not really helping. So it's thinking, does it advance the goal and the vision? And
Mm.
that's where the aha, it's very easy. AHA, just a simple, can I afford it? Does it help? Will it advance my purpose and my vision? That will help us decide whether or not to do some big purchases.
Absolutely. And you
Mm,
know what? We've talked about how to make, not how to make money, but we've talked about making money, how it
mm,
affects our mental well-being. And we're
mm,
talking about spending money and how it
mm,
affects our mental well-being. And
mm.
I really like that too, because it's almost like a self-reflection tool. You sit
Okay.
down, you ask yourself those three questions: the A, the H, and the A. One, the affordability. Is it helping me? And is it advancing my dream? And I really sometimes you just step back from that spending, that big spend, and just have a quick think very
Mhm,
quickly. And that's
mhm,
where I feel you develop your self awareness, you develop
mhm,
your reflection. And
mhm,
then another way is again, I talk a lot about connection because I feel we can connect in so many different ways to different things, but
mhm.
also it helps that inner connection with your own
Definitely.
visions and your own dreams and your own
Definitely.
goals in life. And it gives you that clarity where you want
Mhm,
to really put your energy into. And the
mhm.
more you connect with your inner self, the more clarity you have and the more intention you have with making decisions rather than spending on the spur.
Yeah. And we don't, not
Well,
everything has to be about money. You can do things, you can achieve things without spending money. So if it's that I want to have a nice connection with someone, maybe just taking a day off to just go spend a day with them is what I need to
yes,
do. It's not about sending them money or buying them big expensive gifts, especially when it comes to
yes,
Christmas and New Year's.
yes.
We feel guilty for all the people that we haven't spent time with, and we buy all these expensive gifts. But literally, just take an afternoon off and go for a walk with them. That will achieve so much more than what your money is doing. And it helps us just realize not everything is about money.
Absolutely. And one of the
Mm.
things I did this year was my husband's birthday for the first time. I mean, I bought him a tiny gift, but I said to him, I'm going to buy you an experience. We're going to go out rock climbing.
Oh,
And
wow.
months
Mm.
after that, we still talk about it. We look at the pictures together. We
That's
look at the
great.
video before. And my husband, generally, like you, is not materialistic at all. So you literally buy him presents and he just dumps it somewhere. But for me, I found that when we did that for him this year, he really enjoyed it. That
Mm.
experience really matters. And
Yeah.
that's why I really enjoyed that conversation about how we make money, how we
Mm.
spend the money, and how it
Mm.
impacts our well being. One,
Mhm.
we should learn to use our money wisely rather
Mhm.
than going into debt to buy those big things in a way.
Mm.
Maybe we should learn to invest in experiences.
Yep.
Maybe we learn to invest in our time to
Mhm.
connect with our family. Maybe
Mhm.
need to learn to invest into other people as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
These are ways we can maintain, these are ways we can boost our mental well being. I mean, out there is so much we hear about the rising rates of depression, anxiety,
Mm,
rising rates of suicide, domestic abuse, and a lot
mm,
of these can be curbed when we begin to see the value we
mm.
have in life. And one of
Yeah.
the value we have in life is looking at how meaningful our life is, how we invest, and
Mm,
not necessarily through money, through
mm,
so many other things. We're
mhm,
rounding up now, and I really appreciate the time you spent with us this evening, Dr. Nikki. But I don't know if you feel you can bring out maybe two or three. I know we've talked about quite a lot, and I'm at the risk of us repeating some things here. But just as a round up, do you think you can bring up maybe two or three points which you really want my listeners to hear about boosting their mental well-being, perhaps when it relates to money or
mm.
other things?
Okay. So I couldn't decide which little acronym to share. You can tell I like acronyms. I've got the
We all
AHA.
do.
But recently, I did a sit one for a radio station, which is SIT, stress management. So you look after your mental health by reducing stress, things that cause you stress, and everybody's different. It could be that little cat that's pooing in your garden that's annoying you, or it could be that woman next door, or whatever, to reduce your stress by changing your attitude to things and doing what you can, looking at what you can do something about. I is for intentional living. So
Mm,
you're being intentional about the way you live your life. You're not just letting life carry on and then you look back and think, oh, 10 years later, you're still in the same mess. You're still complaining about the same things that you complained about 10 years later. So being intentional, and how to be
mm,
intentional is thinking about each. So I imagine my day before it happens. I plan my
mm,
day before it happens, which fits in nicely with the T, which is time management. Because when you
mm,
manage your time well, then you're in a better position mentally because you feel more in control. And when
mm,
we feel like we have an internal locus of control for our lives, then it's better rather than thinking that, oh, well, we'll just see how it goes. We'll just see what happens. If something is important to me, I make time for it. I schedule my day. I know what's going to happen today, what might happen or not happen, depending on how I feel, and what is definitely not going to happen. I'm not going to spend 3 hours watching TV. I'm not going
mm.
to spend 5 hours on the phone. I know what's definitely gonna happen. I'm gonna do my work. I'm gonna do an interview. So planning your time well and being intentional about it. I think all those things, they might sound boring. They're not all the happiness over stress things that people like to talk about, but that's what happiness over stress is about. It's the being intentional with these things so that longer term you can enjoy your life better.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Well, I'm sitting down here and thinking of seats.
That's,
Definitely stress, being intentional, and time. And I think we all just need to be reminded. We know some of these things. Sometimes we're not reinventing the wheel, but we just need to be reminded
mhm,
each
mhm.
time.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm on a mission to do, to remind people about their well being, to find out
perfect.
how people keep well, to listen to inspiring stories like here's Dr. Nikki, and then just deciding ourselves to be intentional, manage our time, and manage stress. I'm so grateful for this time. Now, just final moments before we leave. Tell me, there's something happening in a couple of weeks' time, days'
Yeah,
time?
yeah, yeah.
Tell me a bit more. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So Forte Charity, the charity I mentioned, Forte Charity for Inspiration, which I started in 2008, we're celebrating 15 years of existence in
Wow.
September. So on the 2nd of September, we're going to be at the Marriott Hotel in Warwick, celebrating 15 years and also raising funds for more of our work. So it's a charity that really focuses on education. So when we first started, it was going to schools in Nigeria. We also have a sister charity in Abidjan in Ivory Coast, and we go to talk to young people in schools to inspire them to be the best they can be, to work hard and to be focused. We help schools by providing books, and we've helped people in orphanages as well. And we have provided furniture in some places. We went to a school where the children were sitting on the floor, and we provided
Mm,
raised money to provide furniture. So we do things to support education, but as time went on, it became difficult to go every year. And one of the strongest points of the charity is that we make sure that the money goes directly to who needs it. So
mm,
we haven't got all these admin costs, we haven't got all these intermediaries. We make sure that the money goes directly to people that need it. But as time went on, it became difficult for us to be going every year because the trustees are all professionals in the UK that work hard, and sometimes time is our greatest challenge. We pay for our own flights when we go there, we pay all our own expenses when we do these things. So it's really difficult to find the time and sometimes even the money, because if you planned other things that year and you haven't got money to spare for the travel, it's a bit difficult. So some years that we've not been able to travel, we focused more on offering grants to students who might otherwise drop out of school. And this came about from the fact that I almost never became a doctor because of all the financial challenges. So we want to be the charity that's there for people when these kinds of things happen. And we get applications almost every day coming from Nigerian universities.
Wow.
And people, it's sometimes all they need is £200, £300 to help them pay the fees so they don't have to drop out. And that saves them from a life of crime and laziness and joblessness. So we raise money to do this. So the fundraising event is going to be, people are paying, there's tickets on Eventbrite at the moment. So you need to buy your ticket this week if you're interested, because the ticket sales close this weekend. We need to let the hotel know our final numbers. So the tickets money includes a 3-course meal. Get to enjoy a 3-course meal and entertainment, 20% off drinks at the bar. You get to hear much more about the charity, what we've been doing and what our plans are for the year coming, because we've got some exciting things to talk about, with one of our trustees recently going to North Sudan and making some good connections for us there. So there's going to be a lot to hear, but it's also a good opportunity for us to dress up and enjoy
and
our
connect with
lovely
people of
dinner,
like
connect with
mind.
people, networking, wear your nice clothes and your makeup, come and dance and sing and be pampered while doing something for a good cause. So it'll be good to see you there if you can make it. It's in Warwick and tickets are on Eventbrite. Just search Forte Charity for inspiration, 15th anniversary dinner, and you should be able to find it online. And it'll be lovely to see anybody that can make it. I'm sure Jay will be there, so it'll be
I'm
exciting to catch
coming.
up in person.
Thank you. You gave us advance notice from almost like March or April. So I put it in my diary since then.
Very
But it's
good. Time
been,
management.
oh, definitely time management. You have to do it, especially when you're a mom and you do so many other different things.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Niki, it's been lovely talking to you this evening. I really have enjoyed my time. It feels like we've just had a normal girly chat, but it's been very meaningful and impactful. And I'm sure my listeners would appreciate you being very honest, almost brutally honest about your experiences. And I know one or two, I'm sure a lot of people would hear this and hopefully be determined. Like, if Dr. Niki could have done it, then there's nothing stopping me. I can aim to achieve a balanced well-being through my physical, social, mental, and even spiritual as well. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, and my warm regards to the rest of the family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember, well-being is not a destination. It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery and self-care. Stay tuned for some more thought-provoking discussions in our next episode. Together, we can cultivate a thriving and balanced existence. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our listeners and guests who have joined us on this enriching journey. Your presence has made this podcast truly special. Remember, it's never too late to prioritize your well being, and you're not alone on this path to living life well. I'll be right here, cheering you on every step of the way, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me on this adventure. Be kind to yourself and remember it's okay to seek help and support when needed. Your well being is a precious gift. Investing in it will not only enrich your life, but also empower you to be a positive force in the world. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and get ready to unlock the secrets to a thriving life. Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep on keeping well. Until next time, this is Jaye signing off. Take care and live life well. Bye.